Mr. Reginald Byron Jones Sawyer Sr., when you are ready.
I am more than ready, Mr. Chair and colleagues.
Thank you.
AB 2385 gives direction to state agencies when issuing state licenses to medical marijuana operators in my city of Los Angeles. As current law, the Medical Marijuana Regulation and Safety Act, MMRSA, requires a medical cannabis business to obtain a license, permit, or other authorization from a local jurisdiction in order to apply for and receive a state license. AB 2385 prohibits state licensing authorities from requiring a Los Angeles-based medical marijuana operator to possess a local license when the operator has complied with the specified provisions of Measure D. Moreover, this bill will require the exemption to the local licensing requirement to be superseded by a subsequent initiative that authorizes the City of Los Angeles to issue local licenses to medical marijuana businesses, if approved by the voters of Los Angeles prior to the time the state begins issuing state licenses. As such, this bill does not circumvent local control. In fact, a motion has been introduced to support this bill by Councilmember Paul Koretz and was seconded by Council President Herb Wesson, and we voted on by the entire City Council in the near future. I respectfully ask for your aye vote. Here to testify in support are Sam Rodriguez from the United Food and Commercial Workers and Lisa Silan, General Counsel for the United Cannabis Business Alliance Trade Association. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. And did you accepted the amendments?
Yes. And thank you, Mr. Chair, and committee members.
Please, testimony and support.
Mr. Chair and members, my name is Lisa Seelan, and I am General Counsel for the UCBA Trade Association, and we are in support of AB 2385. UCBA Trade Association is a group of approximately 50 Proposition D or Measure D compliant medical marijuana collectives that have been open and operating in Los Angeles since prior to September of 2007. In 2013, in the city of Los Angeles, over 63% of the voters passed Measure D, allowing approximately 135 dispensaries to remain open while banning others. Under Measure D, the city of Los Angeles does not actually issue permits or licenses to those 135 dispensaries. Instead, it is a limited immunity ordinance, which gives them the ability to claim limited immunity just for Proposition D compliant operators. These businesses have been continuously operating. They follow all of the local zoning, environmental, and tax requirements and have been doing so for almost 10 years. This legislation will respect the Los Angeles voters' desire to provide access to qualified patients to obtain medical marijuana. As medical marijuana business operators start to apply for state licenses, the California Department of Consumer Affairs, the Department of Food and Agriculture, and the Department of Public Health will need proof from operators in the city of Los Angeles that they are Measure D compliant. This legislation will ensure that the state does not issue licenses to operators that are not following Measure D requirements. Many of these operators are not paying taxes and many times open and close at different locations to avoid prosecution from law enforcement. We, UCBA, as well as UFCW, are working with medical marijuana stakeholders in Los Angeles to revise Measure D. This bill will sunset when Measure D is revised, but it must be revised by a vote of the voters. It cannot be done by City Council. And this is to really provide patient access in the event that there is some kind of delay in getting a vote out from the voters. I respectfully ask for an aye vote. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate you pointing out that it must go back to the voters.
Yes.
Please, additional testimony and support.
Sam Rodriguez, Legislative Director for the United Food and Commercial Workers State Council. We represent over 160,000 workers in the state of California. More importantly, for this committee, we are the only union that represents cannabis workers. Slightly over 1,500 workers in the state of California are represented by UFCW. More than half are in the city of Los Angeles. We've been working with Ms. Seelan and her organization for the last several years to really come into compliance with the state law. Last year, the governor signed the Medical Marijuana Act, and we view AB 2385 as cleanup legislation so that we can move forward in a compliance framework. And for that, and we want to recognize Assembly Member Reggie Jones Sawyer for having not only 31 years with the city of Los Angeles, but having the in-depth experience of how to move this legislation forward. We respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Additional testimony and support? Hearing and seeing none, let me ask for testimony in opposition. Tweeners. All right, we will take a tweener.
Hezekiah Allen on behalf of the California Growers Association, representing at this point about 90 businesses in Los Angeles, only about a dozen of which are property compliant. I just want to point out that Measure D came in a time when there was a complete absence and vacuum of statewide regulatory framework, and that it is not a perfect solution. Obviously, the voters of Los Angeles do need to make this decision. We're in a really tough position. This is good legislation. It opens the doorway to licensure, allows for some level of compliance, some level of enforcement and regulation within the city. However, it does reinforce what is ultimately a non-functioning system. You know, to the members from Los Angeles, I think we would just like to say this problem doesn't go away with this bill moving forward, and we really do urge you to be mindful of the continued challenges we have. The author's been great. Sponsors have been great. We've been working with them. This is a tough situation, and we just wanted to raise the issues to be mindful that there is more work to do. Thank you for the time to speak today.
Thank you. Additional testimony in opposition? Hearing and seeing none, let me turn it to members on the dais for questions. Assemblymember Dowling.
What time frame do you think it would actually get back on the ballot and the voters could fix the problem? Is that an option?
That's why we're doing this, because we're really not certain when that would be. Any of the members from Los Angeles will tell you revisiting this is tough for Los Angeles. And that's why, obviously, we put in legislation to make sure local control was very important, especially Measure D in Los Angeles. And so, obviously, we're hoping for sooner than later.
Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Member Sawyer. I don't know that there's an LA rep here, but you represent the area, so, well, thank you. I mean in the audience. There's lots of great members from LA here, but representing the city. And you mentioned that there was a motion and a second, and so they may...
They started a resolution. It will probably be voted on by the full council sometime in May.
Okay.
It was with the president of the city council and Paul Koretz making a motion.
To put it on the agenda?
No, it's already...
Okay.
To actually do the actual vote for the resolution will be sometime. Supporting what we're doing right now in this action.
Okay. Supporting your bill?
Yes.
As opposed to supporting what might go on the ballot?
Correct.
Okay. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is I'm just trying to understand a little bit better, and I'm going to defer to you and take your word for it, which I'm happy to do, that this is what the community would like to have happen. Yes. We're dealing with a timing issue.
Correct.
And have there been any official positions taken at all by individual members of the council on a measure coming up, like on the measure itself, not on your bill, but on the measure?
None publicly that I know of.
Well, I know. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones Sawyer.
Thank you. Mr. Gatto.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand a pretty complex bill in a very complex world, and so forgive me if my questions are kind of basic, but right now, Los Angeles is the sole arbiter of Measure D because it's my understanding that the city of Los Angeles grandfathered these 100 and odd businesses, and they basically said you can keep operating, and they were grandfathered by an act of law, and then we now in this bill would be telling the state that if the State Department determines that a business in LA meets the requirements of Measure D, that now the State Department is the arbiter of meeting the requirements of Measure D. What happens if they disagree? What happens if Los Angeles said these are the businesses that met the requirements of Measure D, but then another business goes to the State Bureau and says, hey, we met the requirements of Measure D. We have this and that and this and that, and then they get a license from the state.
Go ahead.
Well, first of all, in the bill as written, the city still has the right to determine who is what they call Measure D compliant. So even if the state were to issue a license, if there was an operator in the city, they would not be able to continue operating if the city found there was something they were doing that wasn't compliant. So that is still allowing for local control. But this was a vote. This was not an act of law by the city. This actually went to the voters. It was a voter initiative, and unfortunately, the way
It does have the effect of law, though, right?
Right, okay, but the problem here is in order to fix it, unfortunately, when it was drafted, it required another vote of the voters to fix it, which hopefully going forward, we will get the city to come up with an initiative that will go on the ballot, that will be passed again by the voters, but then we'll have language in it going forward that if they want to make additions or amendments to their own ordinances, they can do so as a council.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, the Measure D prohibited the city, by an act of the voters essentially, from issuing licenses for these facilities. And so they've got this weird thing where they're operating essentially without a license, but they're grandfathered as approved. And you're saying the council can't overturn that with a supermajority vote? I mean, the council in LA votes 15-0, 97% of the time.
The problem is the language that was put in back in 2013 was really remiss because it didn't have the ability for council going forward, if there was a change by the state in legislation, to fix this. It only could be if there was a judicial determination. Well, there hasn't been a judicial determination that the limited immunity ordinance, which is just really, it says you can't do this. It doesn't say you can do something. Unfortunately, it doesn't give any clarity to these property shops. So we are hoping, and we are working diligently, both the UFCW and the UCBA Trade Association, in trying to work with the city to come up with something. We believe there will be a will to do so. We just don't know how quickly they'll do so, and our biggest concern is if they don't do it before January 1st, 2018, technically every shop in the city of Los Angeles would have to be closed because they'd not be in compliance with state law, and then patient access would be completely destroyed. So,
because that's what, I mean, look, we get, at least in my district, we get a lot of complaints about the shops, period. So when I hear that if I vote no, this might shut them all down, that's sort of appealing to me. But then on the other side of the coin, I hear that this measure will essentially prohibit the proliferation of shops that are not in compliance with Measure D.
correct.
And so I'm trying to understand which is accurate, because both.
The goal is there should be 135 approximate shops open in Los Angeles. There's probably closer to about 700 or 800. They close, but then they open because there's no licensing ability in the city to be able to say you have a license, you don't. It's just an ability to claim limited immunity, which doesn't give my clients a lot of comfort. However, this is hopefully something that will encourage the city to maybe take some steps to move forward quickly. But at the same time, we just don't want that drop-dead date to come and everybody that's been open for 10 years with, union employees and businesses and leases and everything having to shut their doors and have patients without a place to go.
So why don't we as a state then just override the local ballot initiative? We have that power to do that. We can override anything done by a charter city in the state of California, a city or a charter city, by just throwing a notwithstanding clause in one of our bills. Why don't we just override their initiative and say that everybody needs to get a permit from the state or the locality?
Well, I know in the original bill, that was a major concern for several members, that local control is very, very important, and that each municipality would have the opportunity, but more important, have the be responsible for making that decision, because they know best than anyone else what they need in each of their jurisdictions. And so that was really important. And also law enforcement wanted to be able to have some input into that.
But we wanted to preserve local control to license these shops, and Los Angeles has said we're not going to license shops. I mean, that's what I don't understand here. Is that I
believe Los Angeles will one day get there.
All right. I'll take you at face value on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional questions from members on the dais? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Jones-Sawyer, maybe if you could just address some of the points Mr. Gatto raised, in terms of making sure that the local control, obviously I believe in local control and moving forward. I know that this is kind of a stopgap measure with the state proceeding, with setting up the agency and the department. But if you'd like to just kind of address some of that.
You said it best, Mr. Chairman. At the end of the day, it's all about local control and making sure that whatever type of marijuana, medical marijuana in this case, authority that you want to have in your local city, you can regulate by the vote of the voters what you want. Measure D, when reason we kind of carved it out is because we knew that right now they had a measure that was at that level. And to Mr. Goddard's concern, hopefully the 134 that are regulated by the City of Los Angeles that are approved by Measure D are not the ones that are causing problems in a lot of communities in Los Angeles. And so out of the 700 and some odd, hopefully most of the complaints are from there. That's why it's so important to have a regulated, agreed upon by the local municipalities. So this conforms with AB 266, and it also conforms with the wishes of the League of Cities, Chief Police, and others who want it.
Okay. Thank you. Would you like to use that as your close, or would
Yes.
you like to close?
I'll use that as my close. Respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. This is a due pass to local government with the understanding that we will continue to work with the author on ensuring which your folks in support testified, making sure that we maintain that local control as well. Look forward to working with you on that. If not, we feel the bill's moving in a different direction, we always have the ability to call it back as well, and we reserve that right. So with that, I need a motion to move the bill. Moved by Mr. Wood. I need a second. Second by Ms. Eggman. Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Salas.
Aye.
Salas, aye. Bro. Not voting. Bro, not voting. Baker. Aye. Baker, aye. Bloom. Campos. No. Chavez. Daly. Where's everybody? Aye. Daly, aye. Dodd. Aye. Dodd, aye. Eggman. Aye. Eggman, aye. Gatto. Aye. Gatto, aye. Gomez. Holden. Jones. Mullen. Mullen, aye. Ting. Wood. Wood, aye.
Okay. That measure's on call, 8-0, and I will follow you to your committee. I believe I have 3 bills to present.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Next author, I see Mr. Lowe here. We'll call file item 5, AB 2138. Mr. Lowe, you may begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And first off, I'd like to accept the committee's amendments in page 12 of the committee analysis and thank the committee and the staff for diligently working with us on this bill. As proposed to be amended, this bill clarifies the state's sellers of travel law established and enforced by the Attorney General, which is applicable to California-based companies who solicit to prospective visitors, including those who are in another state or in another country. The Sellers of Travel program requires that sellers of travel creates a restitution fund to protect consumers from losses. As a registered agent, a seller or operator is responsible for all aspects of their business, whether it be the actions of their tour guides or other employees as well as their service. A consumer is able to file a claim for restitution for any material failure of any operator to provide transportation or any other travel services that were contracted, among other things. This would help visitors track bad actors. This bill will ensure that visitors who visit our great state are treated with a memorable experience in our state, and wanted to make note that in particular this bill is our joint author is Assemblymember Bonta, and both of us have received a number of issues related to our constituencies throughout the states of overseas travelers who have had challenges related to their travels and travel agents throughout the state. And with me today is Susan Kaplan-Wong, President of Discovery Management, which provides destination services for visitors in California.
Witness in support.
Hi, I'm Susan Kaplan-Wong, and I just want to say that the members of the numbers of foreign and domestic visitors to California and the U.S. have increased each year. Of many foreign visitors and local domestic visitors come to our wonderful state. They spend upwards of $6,000. Unfortunately, the need for local guides, English and foreign speaking, has declined. This is due to what is called through guides. A through guide is someone that meets the group at their home city airport and stays with the group throughout their entire stay here, whether it's California or in the U.S. The through guide will do all of the narration in each city they visit and will return home with the group. These through guides do not have the proper knowledge of California or the U.S. They can take home thousands of dollars and are not obligated to pay taxes to the state of California or to the federal taxes. Many local guides have lost their jobs and applied for unemployment due to this. These through guides coming here and doing our jobs. By requiring the sellers of travel to be responsible for the quality of guides, this will provide our visitors to our amazing state the best possible experiences that we can offer.
Additional witnesses in support? Seeing none, witnesses in opposition?
Good morning, Chair and members. My name is Jerry Desmond on behalf of the California Coalition of Travel Organizations, or CCTO. We have worked with the author and the proponents on the provisions of the bill between when it was introduced and as it's being amended today. And our organization was the co-sponsor of the original Seller of Travel Law 25 years ago that the bill will now amend. And we believe that these provisions that will add the clarity to the existing law on the responsibility of a seller of travel in California when they book customers that are out of the state or out of the country is a reasonable provision that will help protect consumers. And so we've removed our opposition to the bill as it's being amended today.
Thank you. Additional witnesses in opposition? Seeing none, I'd like to bring it back to the committee. Mr. Gatto?
Thank you. So I voted yes on a similar bill last year. It wasn't identical. That was authored by our speaker-elect, and I voted yes out of respect for that gentleman, and I believe you were the co-author on that. But since then, there have been a number of very, very harshly critical articles that have appeared in mainstream publications like Bloomberg, left-leaning publications, right-leaning publications. And they all state that the proliferation of licensing laws in states have served as a profound barrier for people to work. You've got, they've often cited the example of, the veteran and his or her spouse are returning home and they want to move to a state, and it's just, there's all these barriers to doing what they do. And since then, there's been this move, both on the left and the right, to go away from these laws that just serve as barriers to serve as a professional in so many different fields, and really questioning whether states should throw up all these barriers. And I believe there's a bill or a resolution by Mr. Patterson this year which asks the state to examine that, and I think there's some merit to that position. And so I would just ask, why do we need, and I know there's examples of bad actors, but do we really need to license tour guides? I'd like an answer to that.
Sure. If you take a look at the bill itself, and particularly the language, the new element is in the amendment that I previously listed, which is specifically that regardless of geographic location of the prospective purchaser, including persons located outside of the state or country, which fundamentally address the issue that we're talking about, of which there are some challenges with these bad actors who are coming here with a promise to which that is not kept. And so that specifically is the responsibility back to the corporation hiring the guide. And so that's simply what we're trying to address within this specific bill. Please. Mr. Chair, may Liz with
I
us.
just want to say that it's only fair to people that spend a lot of money to come to our beautiful state to have the best experience possible. If they don't have a local guide that is knowledgeable and direct, just takes them wherever they think that they can take them, they're not getting the best possible experience. And by certifying guides, by having them take a test showing that they have the knowledge of the history, and we have very rich history here, if that isn't passed on to our visitors, then we're neglecting our job as guides and as travel industry to give them the best experience so they can pass that word on to their friends and family to bring more people here.
I just fear that I might be an unlicensed tour guide every summer in Los Angeles, but all right, duly noted.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
I said that I'm probably acting as an unlicensed tour guide all the time.
But you don't have a bus full of people. It's okay.
Is there additional questions from committee members? Seeing none. Mr. Lowe, would you like to close?
Thank you very much for the inquiry, and again, as demonstrated from opposition who is now neutral, and then also my fellow colleague who's testifying as a witness, we want to ensure that we can address this issue, and we'll continue to work collaboratively with any other members who have additional concerns. With that, I respectfully ask for your vote.
Thank you. The committee recommendation is do pass to arts, entertainment, sports, tourism, and internet media. Do pass as amended, excuse me. Please call the roll.
Salas. Bro.
No.
Bro, no. Baker. Baker, aye. Bloom. Campos. Chavez. Daly. Dodd. Dodd, aye. Eggman. Eggman, aye. Gatto. Gatto, no. Gomez. Holden. Jones. Mullen. Mullen, aye. Ting. Wood. Wood, aye.
5-2 measures on call. Measures on call 5-2. We'll keep the roll open for absent members. Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
Thank you very much.